Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and let's remind you, XRP Las Vegas tickets are on sale. It's going to be April 30th through May 1st for 2026, and it's going to be at the Paris Casino in Las Vegas, which is like an upgrade from the MGM. Going to be interesting. You can go to xrplasvegas.com to get your tickets today. They have three categories: general admission, VIP, and then the after party tickets. And then they have bundles for each where you can get a discount. Not sure how long that's going to last. 166 days out. It'll be here before you know it. Market's kind of down today. Nothing really to talk about there except to point out that for me, I'm not a financial advisor, but for me, when I have money ready, these are the times I wait for and I go and accumulate. The Nate Garachi, the ETF guy, says spot Bitcoin ETFs was the second biggest outflow ever yesterday. XRP record inflows the same day Bitcoin ETFs have record outflows. Maybe Wall Street wants utility. That was my first thought when I saw that. Now, I think I got this stuff out of order. I told you I had an interview with Jim Bazzani at Caleb & Brown, and I'm kind of sending out these videos one at a time. I've got two more for you here to let you know all about these guys. First of all, you don't have to be an accredited investor.
The beauty of Caleb & Brown's service is that we want it to be accessible for all, whether you're an accredited investor or not. Ultimately, our goal is to ensure that we're onboarding as many people to the crypto space as possible, and doing so in a safe manner and one in which they're educated about the investments they're making. So we've never had requirements through our brokerage service to be a certain level of investor, which we think is a great service to have, because ultimately one day we think those people will hopefully get there with their crypto portfolios, but we want to serve all kinds of clients. Yes, we work a lot with high net worth individuals, but ultimately want to help people get started in this space as well and get started the right way, where they understand what they're purchasing, they're educated about their investments, they learn more about the crypto space because it's not like the equity space. So we don't have accredited investor requirements, and certainly for new products we'll have in the future, that will always be the case.
All righty. And then they addressed how their fee structure works. So keep in mind, you get free institutional custody and you get a broker you can actually speak to, which I don't know of anywhere else you can do that and be in control of your own stuff. Here it is.
Well, based on my trading volume or the dollar threshold amount of a trade that I do, does that then dictate the difference in the default fee that we charge, which is 3.5%? And the short answer to that is ultimately yes, but there's no predetermined amount. So we work really closely with our clients day to day. And ultimately that transparent fee that we charge is 3.5%. It's the only fee that you'll ever be charged with us. But it is negotiable depending on the size of the trade that you're doing, as this person's asking, but also it's to do with the assets as well. There's a very big difference between trading out of, $7 million worth of XRP versus $7 million of a really illiquid asset, a really small altcoin. There's a big difference in the two, even though the volume amount is the same. So what we always recommend for clients is to have those relevant discussions with your broker. That's part of that personalized experience, and that's part of the relationship you build with them. Is not only how much they can help you with your portfolio, but also what can we do from a fee perspective as well. So there's no set amount. It'll be dictated on the client-broker relationship, but we certainly encourage you to speak to your broker if you have questions around the fee mechanisms of our service.
All right, and if you have not opened a Caleb & Brown account and you want to, go to xrpwealth589.com. And that'll forward you to my page on Caleb & Brown's website. And you just click sign up today if you want to open an account like I did. Okay, look at this. This is another one of those ETF guys. SEC put out some guidance where it looks like issuers can sort speed up the effectiveness of filings in an effort to clear out some backlog. My guess is some of these crypto ETFs that didn't do the 8A thing will try and push out as soon as they can. Bitwise XRP is due next up, I believe. Bitwise, remember, is like 30 times the size of Canary, which means 30 times the investor base of Canary. So that's going to be pretty darn interesting. Okay, Hunter Horsley, who is with Bitwise, says people don't want to hear it, but things underway for crypto are possibly the most bullish it's been in 10 years. Substance is rapidly arriving. Having been someone who's been here for the last 10 years, I can tell you with absolute certainty and confidence that by far, and I've been through all the pullbacks and the ups and downs, we have never, ever had so many positive things going for crypto, not even close, than we do right this second. And that's why I continue to accumulate when I have money available to accumulate during these pullbacks, and will continue to do so until these final chess pieces are put in place. Okay, what do we have next? Okay, this is interesting. I showed you in the last video how NASDAQ put this tweet out. They want to directly associate themselves with Ripple. Smoke gives us a great reminder here.
And, this guy sells it to that guy. That's essentially, what the stock exchange does. So if you can have a common ledger to be able to exchange those IOUs at, then that certainly makes sense. And there's examples of Korean banks partnering with local Bitcoin companies for the settlement. People like the IMF or World Bank or these kind of people are always talking about these sort of blockchain settlement systems. NASDAQ is involved in I think doing some trials with Ripple as well. So,
oh, you think? Okay, now this is Patrick Witt, the guy from the White House that came to Ripple Swell. He's being interviewed here with Thinking Crypto.
Folks are excited. They're grateful. They come in and they thank us, but really they should be thanking President Trump and David for setting the tone and the direction. And we're just there to execute. We're on the front lines, trying to lead it forward, but the direction comes from the top.
You know what it feels like, Patrick? If my history is correct here, 1990s, President Clinton and I believe Al Gore, they got it right with the telecom bill, and which allowed the internet to flourish. And it feels like we're at that moment for blockchain and crypto.
I think that's exactly right. Brad Garlinghouse brought that up this morning when I was talking with him. And the point that we were making is, we need to establish the appropriate safeguards, the rails here to ensure that we're not overburdening the industry, but we're providing that, efficient frontier of regulation that will allow these markets to flourish. And, back then they did exactly that, right? It was a base layer of regulation and rules of the road that allowed the internet industry and everything that was enabled by the internet to grow there. But, 20 years from now, I don't think anyone can predict exactly, what the future will hold for, blockchain, for crypto. So we need to make sure that there's appropriate play in the joints and there's the ability for the, regulatory framework to adapt to all of the things that are coming, down the pike that we can't even predict right now. Who could have predicted exactly what the internet would do and enable in the late 90s? So we need to make sure that what we're doing allows for that appropriate level of adaptation and evolution that will inevitably happen in this industry.
Okay. Now this right here is interesting because these are the two guys. Well, what's his name? Was it Evan? I can't remember the guy's name. But if you remember, if you've been around for a while, you remember the famous video where the guy gets on stage and he says that the interledger protocol, this is he said, what is this, what's the market or whatever, and he says all the money. And this is the guy, I think it's Evan Schwartz, that might be right. And then this is the CTO, Stefan Thomas, or the previous CTO of Ripple, Stefan Thomas. And if you remember, Ripple created smart contracts. Vitalik Buterin slept on his couch when he got the idea for Ethereum. I've always wondered if that was potentially corporate or some type of espionage when Vitalik Buterin went there, because the story goes, and I'm not saying it was, I'm just saying I always wondered if that could have been what it was. Ripple ended up not doing smart contracts, but they tell you here why why they didn't put smart contracts on the XRP ledger.
Which interledger came? Like what were we thinking about beforehand? And I would give a lot of credit to Stefan for kicking off the initial effort. So maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we were working for a little startup in San Francisco called Ripple. And Ripple came out of this broader industry trend called blockchain. I personally was a Bitcoin contributor before joining Ripple. And our first project at Ripple was something called smart contracts, which again, if you're at all paying attention to blockchain, you're probably familiar with that term. But what it means is contracts that are written as code, and so they can be self-enforcing. And so we're trying to figure out how to add that to the Ripple ecosystem. And in the process of doing that, kind of realized that having everything tied to a blockchain can be quite clunky and slow.
Yeah.
Let me translate that for you. Ripple went the smart route, and many of the reasons you're seeing Ethereum get bogged down is because Ripple figured out early that wasn't the way to go. Okay, we're going to go in DAIXRP.com. That's the Patreon. If you'd rather join through YouTube, click join below any of these videos, or you can join through X by hitting subscribe. We do the full video and the extended video with no commercials. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Here we go.